We'll start presenting now. Well, good morning, all of you all. And remember, this was the last of the slides that we did before we went into the presentation sessions. We have around 6 presentation sessions. Not all students have presented their work. Anyway, we'll proceed further, followed by this particular slide, okay, which was on soil. We need to also deal into, because soil happens to be a very important aspect of agriculture. The fertility of soil is also a very important part. And as far as this fertility is concerned, this is dependent on very many factors. Now, what are these factors? Suitable temperature for the development of every type of plant. Okay, you see, for the seed to germinate, okay, and the plant to come out of the seed, okay, certain conditions are very necessary. So we did this as a part of our temperature based factors affecting agriculture also, and as a consequence I would rather say that a suitable temperature, not too high, not too low. Of course, it is not only the temperature. We'll see that there are points listed below one and the other. But if we are to absolutely remove them and identify them individually, as far as temperature is concerned, we need to have a suitable temperature, which is need not be very high, because if it is going to be very high, it will dry up the already existing water, and this will not be sufficient. If there is going to be very low, then of course the water content will freeze, and again germination is going to be very difficult. So you have to have a limited minimum and maximum temperature. You need to know the limitations of the max and the minimum temperatures, which will help the seed germinate, and that's included in the factors of soil. And normally, when we speak about the fertility of the soil, you'll see that we normally tend to ignore this, but these are the very basic factors on which the fertility is going to be dependent on. Okay. Similarly, as I said, the maximum and minimum temperature, when they either heat or cool down the process of germination, what actually are they applying? They are applying to the second factor, and that is supply of water. Okay, you'll see that yes, water is basically necessary as far as growth is concerned, and this water reflects into other aspects also, the temperature. And that's why I said that if the temperatures are going to be very high, the water will evaporate. If the temperatures are going to be very low, the water will freeze. And that is why it's going to be very difficult if there is not going to be a proper set of temperatures available, and of course, a proper set of water. When we're speaking about soil, we spoke about the components of the soil, which are very necessary. The third aspect, okay, temperature, water, and the third aspect is going to be aeration. Okay, you'll see that there needs to be a regular exchange of the required gases, particularly oxygen, okay, that needs to transpire into and outside of the soil. So you'll see that if the soil is very sticky, then it becomes very difficult, and in such soils, you will not be able to cultivate crops of your liking. Okay, there could be plants and varieties, but the crops of your liking would not be able to be done. So aeration, okay, is going to be another important aspect as far as the fertility of the soil is concerned. Then the nutrients that make up the uh, fertility of the soil, okay, these they comprise of major elements like nitrogen and phosphorus and sulfur and lime, potash, iron, and then you have these micronutrients which are like lead, copper, boron, manganese, iodine, nickel, cobalt, and molybdenum. Now remember that there needs to be a definite percentage of these. Okay, a higher or lower of any one of them is going to cause a drop in fertility, particularly as far as the minor nutrients is concerned. As far as the major nutrients is concerned, you'll see that these elements, nitrogen is used in all fertilizers. You'll see then you have other fertilizers which is phosphorus and lime and potash. Okay, now you'll see that depending on the output of that particular crop, output in the sense whether you are going to use the fruit of the crop, whether you are going to use the leaf of the crop, leaf in the sense, say tea cultivation, you use the leaves, whether you are going to use the stem of the crop, say sugarcane, and whether you are going to use the root of the crop, say carrot or radish, and crops of such type, you'll see that different types of major nutrients, food elements are going to be required. So plant nutrition varies accordingly and with regards to the output as such. Then just as there are going to be plant nutrients which are going to be required by a particular crop, there needs also needs to be some of these which needs to they which need not be there. They should not be there. That's our absence of harmful elements. Okay, what are these harmful elements? Okay, you'll see that salt, sodium chloride, sodium sulfate. Okay, you'll see that आपण म्हणतो की खारी जमीन आहे, क्षारयुक्त जमीन आहे. All this is related to these के से मला वाटतं 2005 का 6 साली सुनामी जी आली होती आणि त्या सुनामीमुळे ज्या ज्या ठिकाणी कोस्टल एरियाज मध्ये सॉल्ट वॉटर जे आहे, मरीन वॉटर जे आहे ते आत आलं होतं. अशा जमिनी खारवटल्या होत्या. these are also called as खारलँड. आणि it took some time before all of this was leached out and then they could start practicing agriculture on these surfaces as such. Okay, though sodium chloride is an important chemical, sodium sulfate is an important uh, element. Okay, you'll see that, however, it is not useful when it comes to soil and soil fertility as such. Then too much of acidity in the soil is also not going to be beneficial. Okay, particularly sulfuric acid, if the acidity of the soil grows, then it becomes very difficult for plants to handle it. I could give you an example that as far as eucalyptus, म्हणजे आपण काय युकॅलिप्टिसला मराठीमध्ये आपण ती उंच झाडं असतात बघा, त्याचं पान आपण दुमडून इथे त्याचं ते रगडलं की आपण त्याचा वास घेतो. मला मराठीमध्ये त्याचं नाव माहिती होतं, जस्ट मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ but this is in Indian conditions particularly, this is not an originally Indian plant or tree. This was brought in to the system as such. Now तुम्ही हे युकॅलिप्टस प्लांट्स जर पाहिले असतील, निलगिरीची झाडं जी आहेत आपण, येस, तर इफ यू गो टू द सदर्न पार्ट्स ऑफ इंडिया आणि तिथे निलगिरीची झाडं जर तुम्ही पाहिलीत, जंगलं जर तुम्ही पाहिलीत, ही सगळी प्लांटेड आहेत, लेट मी टेल यू. At the base of these trees, you will not find any vegetation. The reason being, when the leaves fall on the ground as litter, they react with the surface and they make it very hard, and they make it very acidic. That's basically a mechanism that the tree has developed to avoid any other trees from growing around, and that is why you'll see that when you find these eucalyptus trees or निलगिरीची झाडं आपण पाहतो, ती सलग पाहतो. की सलग का पाहतो, तर एक झाड जेव्हा उगवतं तेव्हा ती सराउंडिंग एरिया ही ऍक्च्युली ऍसिडिक करून टाकतं आणि त्यामुळे बाकीची झाडं उगवत नाहीत, मग फक्त निलगिरी आहे की निलगिरी असं. सो दिस इज अ नॅचरल अडॅप्टेशन. But when it comes to agriculture, this is a difficulty that an agriculturalist would face. Similarly, acidity is on one side, basic tendency is also on the other. Sodium carbonate ज्याला आपण म्हणतो, किंवा saltiness जे आहे, alkaline matter जसा जसा वाढत जाईल तसा तसा सुद्धा फर्टिलिटी ड्रॉप होणं म्हणजे बेसिकली काय, किंवा फर्टिलिटी पुअर असणं म्हणजे काय, तर तुम्हाला जो क्रॉप घ्यायचा आहे तो क्रॉप सस्टेन करायला, तो क्रॉप त्या क्रॉपची वाढ व्हायला, there is a difficulty. So that is what basically fertility is understood with regards to agriculture. Fertility could have various meanings, okay, but with regards to agriculture, it's this, that it needs to support the type of plant that I am going to cultivate. And then, as I said, what Nilgiri does to the surface actually is a requirement of majority of the plants. That's absence of weeds. जे आपण ज्याला पॅरासाइट म्हणतो, बांडगुळ जे म्हणतो, these parasitic plants, they actually grow with your crops and they actually absorb more of the nutrition, and that's why the nutrition available for your crop is less. Thus, lesser the weeds, okay, there is more a probability of your crops growing fine. And if there are more weeds, then of course they weaken the original crop plants as such. Okay, so fertile soil, as it is said, should be free from weeds as well. So this is with regards fertility. And the last aspect about soil erosion here is soil is basically soil erosion and prevention. Okay, now soil erosion again, say the chemical type of soil erosion is something that we have seen in the earlier side, that is fertility. The physical side of soil erosion is actually physical removal of soil erosion, and that too is dependent on various factors. Because soil is a superficial component, it is a layer which lies on the surface. Uh, these factors are going to be very important, like to start with the quantity of rainfall and its distribution. You'll see that if the rainfall is going to be very heavy, okay, the surface flow is going to be heavy. If the surface flow is going to be heavy, you'll see that the water is going to be carried. Water is going to be carried very fast, and this gives, okay, the water energy, and this energy is used to erode soil. Okay, it takes away the soil. It washes away the soil in the layman's language. माती ऍक्च्युली धुवून घेतली जाते, आणि धुवून घेतली जाते म्हणजे धुवून घेऊन जातं पाणी स्वतःबरोबर, आणि त्याच्यामुळे ते पाणी फार गढूळ दिसतं. ओके, आणि यू विल सी की ऍज फार एज द अर्ली periods of the monsoon season is concerned, uh, because of the earlier part, you'll see that the water tends to be very turbid and very muddy as such. However, you'll see that because of deforestation and because of constructional activities like dams and roads and other infrastructure, as such, nowadays, throughout the season, you will see that water tends to be muddy, particularly in the lower reaches. Varcha reaches मध्ये ते नसेल सुद्धा, पण in the lower reaches, you'll see that water nowadays tends to carry a lot of mud. This is not a healthy sign when it comes to the fact that soil is a very important component as far as sustaining agriculture is concerned. Soil erosion, physical soil erosion is secondly related to the relief of the land. If the relief is going to be steeper, even a small amount of rainfall is going to be enough to take away the soil. However, if the relief is gentle, then you'll see that the soil will not be eroded fast as such. So, and so you'll see that as far as uh, slopes of hills are concerned, the thickness of the soil on the slopes of the hill is directly proportional to the slope, in the sense that if the slope is steeper, the is inversely proportional. Sorry, if the slope is more, then the soil is less, and if the slope is less, then the soil layer thickness is more. As such, then the amount of vegetation on the land, you'll see that actually these factors interrelate into each other, and together they support say a good layer of soil. And that's how, as far as the third aspect is concerned, if you have vegetation on the land surface, you'll see that there are very many aspects of this vegetation which are going to help the generation of soil. To start with, you'll see that the litter of the vegetative cover, okay, all those dry leaves that are going to fall on the surface, they're going to decompose and they're going to form humus, and that's going to add to the fertility of the soil. At the same time, you'll see that the flow of the water is going to be obstructed by all that vegetation is going to be there, and because of which soil erosion is again going to be prevented as such. And that's why it is said that afforestation or reforestation is very important as far as soil is concerned. Please let me remind you that when it comes to soil fertility, it could be physical or it could be chemical as such. Okay, this is a process that takes a lot of time. Okay, and as far as soil erosion is concerned, it should not be taking much time. As a consequence, even if we start working on the say the whole issue of soil erosion, it is going to be some decades at least, as far as the whole process of regeneration of the soil fertility is concerned as such. And then the soil characteristics is very also very important. The texture of the soil, okay, you'll see that the soil should not be very grainy, okay, in the sense that if you have a lot of sand in the soil, what's going to happen is it's going to allow moisture to immediately pass through it. So retention of moisture in the soil is going to be very difficult. On the other hand, if the soil particles are very small, they'll stick into each other and they will not allow water to pass through. And these are two extremes as far as soil characteristics are concerned. Then, for the nutrients in the soil, all put together are going to be working as far as soil erosion is concerned. So these are the physical factors which affect, I would say, soil agriculture as such. Now let us move to the human factors, because you'll see that of late human factors are playing a very important role. Okay, you'll see that particularly when the say in the last couple of centuries, when the population of the world is growing very high and very fast, governments are required to feed their population, and as a consequence, governments are playing a major role as far as agricultural practices are concerned. Okay, now governments are made up of human beings, and that's why you'll see that that will be included as a human factor and their effect on agriculture as such. When we speak about economic factors as such, on a very broad scale, you'll see that in Western countries, uh, to name a few, Australia, or let us say Canada, or let us say Brazil, or let us say even USA as such, and most of the European countries as such, agriculture is more profit oriented as such. So you'll find cash crops, and you'll find a lot of use of machines there, because the returns also are very high. And in fact, the whole objective of major aspect of agriculture in Western countries is to generate and maximize the profit as such. So they're looking at how much profit will I get from this particular act as such. On the other hand, you come to the developing and the underdeveloped countries of the world in Asia and Africa, you'll see that most of the agriculture is at a subsistence level. There are many factors why it impacts agricultural practices in this way, but on a broad scale, economic factors, Western countries are more profit oriented. I would say Asian and African countries are more food oriented, I would say, at a subsistence level. Okay, then the size of the farm as such, you'll see that naturally there is nothing called as the size of the farm as such. Okay, size of the farm is actually a balance between the area available to a particular farmer, or the an area which is under the control of a particular farmer. Okay, a small area or small patches of area under very many farmers, okay, will cause fragmentation and will affect the whole process of agriculture. On the other hand, also let me tell you that a very large piece of land, like in Australia, Canada, etc., which is under the control of a single farmer, that also gets to be difficult. Okay, so size of the farms are going to matter. In the Western countries, again, you'll see that it is agriculture is the size, and the agriculture is dependent on the capital, the labor, the managerial capacity, in the sense that if you have a large farm, you should have the capital to be invested for that particular crop one. Then all the machinery that you would tend to be requiring in a particular area, from tractors to harvesters to fertilizers, sprays, and so on and so forth. In fact, you'll see that in countries like Australia, South Africa, New Zealand, even Argentina to quite an extent, most of these that I've labeled are in the southern hemisphere. Now, why am I naming only countries in the southern hemisphere? Basically, because the total amount of population in the southern hemisphere is less. In the northern hemisphere, population is more, so the area available for agriculture is less. Coming back to the point that I was referring to capital, and in fact, I could connect labor to it also, that you have farmers who could own small aircrafts and they use these aircrafts for spraying of insecticides, pesticides, fertilizers on their crops as such. So, if you have a large area under your control, then you need to look at all those things that you would require as far as controlling, and machinery is one, and for the requirement of machinery, capital is investment is going to be one more thing. Another thing which is associated with machinery, in fact, primarily machines came into picture when labor was a shortage, or where labor was shortage. You'll see that all these countries of the southern hemisphere with low population on one side and more land on the other, as far as cultivation of crops is concerned. Okay, to bring in more land under crop cultivation, the requirement was labor. If labor was not there, it was replaced by use of a lot of machineries. So that's another aspect of agriculture in the western regions. And then, of course, the managerial capacity of a particular farmer. If you are able to manage farming as an activity, now this is not only related to the sowing and the harvesting as such, that it starts right from the fact that how you realize what is the best thing today required in the international markets. You decide of taking a crop of that particular commodity, and after having taken that particular crop, making that commodity reach the markets in a proper way and extracting a maximized benefit out of this whole process. So all this comes under managerial capacity. So that's with regards to the size of the farm. Coming to the Asian countries, farming is more family based, and something which is a matter of inheritance. The land piece passes from one generation to the other. Now it so happens that in Asian countries, the family size is large. The family size is kept large basically because uh, you require more hands to work, right, on the agricultural field. So the families tend to be larger, but eventually what happens is, larger the family, you'll see that the split of the land surfaces is tends to increase between the members of the family, and it is through this inheritance that the size of the farms tends to decrease generation to generation, as far as Asian and underdeveloped and developing countries is concerned. That's as far as the size is concerned, and how that is related to agricultural activity as such. Then we come to factors of production. Factors of production include land. All natural land here includes all natural resources, uh, and you'll see that the resources that you would be requiring as far as growing a particular crop is concerned. Otherwise, you may think that I'm referring to land as land in the capacity of agriculture, climate in the capacity of agriculture, but both of them are natural factors. Okay, when we speak about land and all natural resources, you'll see that how the land is being put to agricultural use by human beings. By human beings. Okay, then you come to labor. Okay, you'll see that labor is manual, labor is mental labor. Mental labor is you think of a particular idea and you come up with machines which are being used as far as agricultural practices is concerned. Third is capital. As far as capital is concerned, I've already said that the machines required for the process of agriculture, the chemicals required for the process of agriculture, the livestock which is kept accompanying in the whole process of farming. And I would also say that warehousing is another very important thing, that तुम्हाला वखार लागणार आहे की basically your produce, before you're going to, very sorry, before we are going to sell it in the market, and and if we are required to wait for a particular time so that the uh, prices of the commodities appreciate in the market as such, warehousing, that is storing your product, is very important. Of course, not at all agricultural products can be stored. Particularly, you'll see that fruits, flowers, and leafy vegetables, etc. They are very perishable as such. But something like rice, wheat, and other vegetables like onions and potatoes can are something that can be stored as such. So, store this warehousing is very important. As then management, okay, management of again a combination of land, labor, and capital. How are you going to manage your land? How are you going to use the labor available with you? And how are you going to employ the capital which is available with you? Okay, so that these are, I would say, the factors of production as such. Then we will speak about each of these factors one by one as such. Sociocultural factors, sorry, factors दोनदा झाले इथे. Sociocultural factors is land use in the sense, again, the basic factors that we have seen in the earlier slide now need to be gone on a micro level, and we need to look at what exactly do we mean by land use as such. Okay, you'll see that in countries where the population is very high, the amount of land which could be available for agriculture on the whole purpose is very less, because it is used up for other activities like say habitation. Okay, it could be rural growth, it could be urban growth, and land is used for industry, land is used for infrastructure. uh, Land tends to be divided due to inheritance. So in a developing country, the size of the farms and availability of farms keeps going down regularly, as such. Okay, and then the social structure, you'll see that if down the line in inheritance, the farm tends to be divided and subdivided amongst the family members as such, then it could be a difficult thing as such. Then social structure in a sense would also mean the liking of a particular population, or I would say the beliefs of a particular population, in the sense that you would find that piggery, okay, म्हणजे वराह पालन ज्याला आपण म्हणतो, is seen to be a very profitable business as far as uh, modern countries are concerned, developed countries are concerned. But when it comes to Islamic countries, the pig is supposed to be a very filthy animal. Okay, इस्लाम धर्मामध्ये डुक्कर जे असतं त्याला फार असं गलिच्छ असं मानलं जातं आणि त्याला फार खालच्या लेवलचं स्थान आहे. त्यामुळे consumption of pork products is prohibited in Islam. असं तुम्हाला कुठलाही मुसलमान माणूस हा डुकराचं मटण खाताना दिसणार नाही. On the other hand, you'll see that English people are supposed to be, or rather Europeans relish on pork diets. डुकराच्या मटणाला इंग्लिशमध्ये pork म्हटलं जातं. So that's one thing. On the other hand, as far as areas where you have a larger population of Hindu religion, you'll see that they will avoid consuming beef, in the sense गाईचं मटण जे असतं हे खाल्लं जात नाही हिंदू धर्मामध्ये. So traditions and beliefs are also playing a very important role. Along with traditions and long drawn practices, you'll see that farmers are at times very reluctant to bring about changes in the agricultural practices, right from the way in which they're plowing the land to the crop that they are going to sow. As such, monoculture has been a very regular phenomena in many parts of the world, and that's why you'll see that you'll find farmers going away from the practice of monoculture. Okay, varshan varshe, dashakaun dashake, you'll see that one particular crop is grown in a particular area, and that's also is an underlining socio-cultural factor which is going to be affecting agriculture as a practice as such. So these are a few many reasons of socio-cultural aspect as such. Ownership of land and rent, we have again seen a small part of it in the earlier slide, I would say. But to add to that, you'll see that ownership of land and its distribution, okay, from the time that we have a record of history, 12व्या-13व्या शतकामध्ये when we spoke about the history of agriculture, I did say that uh, we did learn that you had a feudal system, okay, wherein त्याला काय म्हणत आपण manors असायचे आणि you had people working around you in these farms as such. Then you'll see that during the Industrial Revolution, the cultivation of cotton and tobacco in the southern parts of United States of America, which was done basically through what is called as slavery. And I would say this is one part of history wherein the Europeans would be ashamed of, that they would literally uh, purchase slaves and make them work and toil very hard as far as these agricultural surfaces were concerned. And then you'd see a similar pattern of this called as the zamindari system that you find in India, which flourished particularly during the British period. And it did have a major role to play as far as I would say the degradation of quality of agriculture as far as India is concerned. Then when it comes to ownership, another aspect, land and rent, another aspect is money lending. You'll see that agriculture is a capital-based activity. Unless and until you are going to pour in something, you are not going to get out something of it. Okay, in this whole process, you are going to require a lot of money at times, right from for buying seeds to renting of machines to plow the surfaces, and then of course fertilizers, and then insecticides and pesticides, and then of course taking this commodity all the way into the market. And once it is sold, only then that you're going to have your money. When you get back the money, you tend to come back and you pay it back to those people who have been giving you that. But of course, this money is not given off without any cause and purpose. The farmer has to pay a rent on this, and or I would rather say an interest as far as the money that he has borrowed from the money lenders as such. And the money lending system has been a very difficult thing for a significant period of time in independent India, particularly. And not that it was not there before, but you'll see that the British government hardly took any cognizance of this. It's only when we were left to ourselves and the Indian government had to look into this issue of money lending and loaning systems such that they had to abolish all these or they had to restrict these activities like the zamindari and the mahajans who used to lead, who used to uh, give you money on a very high interest rate as such. In order to arrest all these things, you'll see that in independent India, the government has been coming up with various schemes. To start with, you have the TRISEM. याचे लॉंग फॉर्म्स जे आहेत हे तुम्ही शोधून काढलं तर त्याच्याबद्दल तुमचं थोडंसं वाचन पण होईल, and that will help you in the study of agricultural geography. NREP, National Rural Employment Program, IRDP, Rural Development Program, and then you have the purchase and sale of agricultural produce, which tends to be a very important issue as far as the whole process of agriculture and agricultural practices are concerned, because once the crop is ready, the farmer himself has to take it to the market, or somebody from the market has to come to you. I'm referring to the traders here, and they will buy this and then they will take it to the market as such. Many a times nowadays, in fact, it so happens that the traders come much in ahead, and they would say, okay, ह्या वर्षी तुम्ही हे पीक घेणार आहे, एवढा एरिया आहे, हे बी वापरणार आहात, ह्या बीचं साधारण प्रोडक्शन एवढं असतं, त्याचा खर्च एवढा होईल, त्याला इन्सेक्टिसाइड, पेस्टिसाइड, फर्टिलायझर्सला एवढा होईल, तर आम्ही तुम्हाला एवढा एवढा क्रॉप देऊ. पर्टिक्युलरली ऑर्चर्ड फार्मिंग जे आहे आपल्याकडे कोकणामध्ये, आंब्याच्या बागा ज्या आहेत त्याच्याबद्दल हे असं केलं जातं की जमीन आणि बागा एका व्यक्तीच्या असतात, पण त्याच्यावर लादणारे आंबे जे आहेत हे मात्र तो पर्टिक्युलर ट्रेडर जो असतो, ही इज गोइंग टू बी पर्चेसिंग द प्रोड्यूस फ्रॉम यू. अर्थात घरी वापरायला ते तुम्हाला थोडी परवानगी देतात, पण अदरवाईज मग हे सगळं हेवीली गार्डेड, पर्टिक्युलरली हाय व्हॅल्यू मँगोज म्हणजे रत्नागिरी, देवगड हापूस जो आहे, ह्या बाबतीत इट्स अ व्हेरी हायली गार्डेड पीक. म्हणजे तिथे लिटरली ते वॉचमॅन लावतात जेणेकरून आजूबाजूची लोक येऊन ते आंबे तोडून नयेत वगैरे वगैरे वगैरे. दिस इज ॲट अन इंडिव्हिज्युअल लेवल. यू सी दॅट द फार्मर टेंड्स टू बी, आता त्याच्याकडे मी मगाशी म्हटलं की त्याच्याकडे तेवढे पैसे नाही आहेत की ते घेऊन तो मार्केटमध्ये जाईल, तिथे जाऊन विकेल आणि मग परत येईल. In this case, it so happens that the traders take a undue advantage of this, and त्याला, ज्याला आपण मराठीमध्ये पडेल भावाने विकत घेतात हे सगळ्या कमोडिटीज as such, and the farmers have to bear a lot of loss. की बऱ्याच वेळेस आपण पाहतो की आपल्या डोक्यात विचार येतो की काय झालं, त्याला थोडेसे किलोमीटर येऊन इथे गाडीत घालून सामान आणलं तुमचं आणि इथे विकला तर काय विशेष असं होणार नाही. पण बऱ्याच वेळेस असं होतं की तो जो प्रोड्यूस असतो तो बऱ्याच वेळेस बाजारामध्ये येईपर्यंत त्याचं कॉस्टिंग कमी होऊ शकतं, बाजारात त्याची किंमत कमी होऊ शकते. तुम्ही पाहाल की कांद्याचं म्हणा किंवा कोथिंबिरीचं बऱ्याच वेळेस असं होताना दिसतं. आजकाल कोथिंबिरीचं होत नाही, पण देर आर व्हेरी मेनी प्रोड्युसर्स वेरिन त्याचा भाव बाजारामध्ये एवढा पडू शकतो की तुम्हाला येण्या जाण्याचं ज्याचं भाडं आहे हे सुद्धा परवडणार नाही. बऱ्याच वेळेस मग दुसऱ्या दिवशी पेपरला फोटो येतो की शेतकरी हवालदिल झालेला आहे, काल बाजारात आणलेला अमुक अमुक. टोमॅटोच्या बाबतीत असं होताना दिसतं आपल्याला की काल बाजारात आणलेला हा भाव, हा प्रोड्यूस, हा त्याला योग्य भाव मिळाला नाहीमुळे शेतकरी तो प्रोड्यूस तिथेच टाकून निघून गेलेला. So that's a very difficult thing and unfortunate thing to happen with the agriculture and agricultural system as such. And that's why you'll see that the government has to intervene. And the government intervenes through various ways. To start with, you have the minimum support program. And the minimum support programs are in relation to major food grains in that particular area or cash crops in that particular area as such. म्हणजे आपण विदर्भात गेलो तर सोयाबीन आणि कापसाला एक हमी भाव असतो. आपल्याकडे आलो तर आपल्याकडे ऊसाला एक हमी भाव असतो. पंजाबमध्ये गेलात तर गव्हाला हमी भाव असतो. आणि हा हमी भाव टिकून राहावा म्हणून नवीन याच्यामध्ये ऍग्रिकल्चरल आपले जे लॉज घातलेले आहेत त्याच्यामधले एक भांडण जे आहे मिनिमम सपोर्ट प्राइस वर आहे. मी त्याचा विशेष अभ्यास केलेला नाहीये. इनफॅक्ट आय वुड लाईक अ डिस्कशन ऑन the new agricultural policy so that आपल्या सगळ्यांना त्याचा थोडासा काय म्हणू माहिती मिळू शकेल. तर हे कधीतरी एकदा घडून आणायचा माझा विचार आहे. लेट अस सी इफ इट इज गोइंग टू बी पॉसिबल एज सच. आता गंमत अशी आहे की ही मिनिमम सपोर्ट प्राइस देऊन सरकार हे सगळं विकत घेते तुमच्याकडनं, पण सरकार त्याचं काय करणार? So there are various ways in which the government is going to be looking at it. It will maintain what are called as buffer stocks. म्हणजे ह्या वर्षी तुमचं पीक चांगलं आहे, पुढच्या वर्षी मात्र हे पीक चांगलं आलं नाही तर त्याच एरियामध्ये तुम्हाला अन्नधान्य पुरवावं लागतं. आणि इट्स फॉर दॅट गव्हर्नमेंट वुड बी रिक्वायरिंग. आणि मग त्याच्या वखारी असतात वेगवेगळ्या रिजन्स मध्ये, तिथे हे सगळं स्टोअर करून ठेवलं जातं. त्याचबरोबर असंही होऊ शकतं की एखाद्या वर्षी एखाद्या एरियामध्ये कुठला तरी नैसर्गिक आपत्ती येऊ शकते आणि त्या आपत्तीमुळे तिकडच्या लोकांना ऍग्रिकल्चरल प्रॅक्टिस इज डिफिकल्ट. सो व्हॉट दे डू इज द गव्हर्नमेंट सप्लाइज इट. पुन्हा in welfare governments like in the case of India, you'll see that the poor family is required to be supplied with food and food products with at a subsidized rate as such. आणि ह्याच्यातनं पब्लिक डिस्ट्रीब्युशन सिस्टीम म्हणजे रेशनिंगचं अन्नधान्य ज्याला आपण म्हणतो की योगायोगाने तुम्ही अशा एका फेज मध्ये अभ्यास करत आहात किंवा जगत आहात जिथे ह्या सगळ्याची आपल्याला गरज भासत नाही. पण एक काळ असा होता आम्ही लहान असताना की रेशनिंगचा गहू तांदूळ आणि बाकी बाजारात मिळणाऱ्या गहू तांदूळाचे कॉस्टिंग मध्ये प्रचंड फरक होता. साखरेमध्ये फरक होता, त्याच्यामुळे रॉकेल मध्ये फरक होता. ऍज अ कॉन्सिक्वेन्स विल सी की लोक लाईन लावून लावून रॉकेल, साखर, काही प्रमाणात तांदूळ आणि गहू, आम्ही काही वर्षांपूर्वीपर्यंत साखर ही विकत घ्यायचो. पण आता आपण पाहतोय की बऱ्यापैकी ह्या ज्या कमॉडिटीज आहेत त्या बऱ्यापैकी सारख्याच लेवलला आलेल्या आहेत, त्याचं कॉस्टिंग, आणि त्याच्यामुळे रेशनिंगचं थोडंसं हे कमी झालेलं आहे. पण तुम्ही पाहाल की आत्ता जेव्हा पॅन्डेमिक आलं तेव्हा यांच्याच थ्रू प्रति घरटी 5 किलो गहू किंवा तांदूळ हा मोफत देणं, हे मी मागे सुद्धा बोललो होतो. मी त्याची बॅनर पाहिला होता स्वारगेटला. तर त्याच्यासाठी सुद्धा गव्हर्नमेंट कडे असलेला हा स्टॉक गव्हर्नमेंट वापरू शकते. तसंच तुम्ही पाहाल की आजच्या तारखेला दूध जर तुम्ही पाहिलं तर हे 24 तास तुम्हाला अवेलेबल असतं, कारण रेफ्रिजरेशन फॅसिलिटीज आहेत. पाकिटात भरलेलं मग 1 लिटर असू दे, 2 लिटर असू दे, 5 लिटर असू दे, अर्धा लिटर असू दे, तुम्हाला ते अवेलेबल राहतं. पण मला आठवतंय, मी अगदी 12वी पर्यंत मला ते निश्चित आठवते की लाईन लावून दुधाची केंद्र असायची, ती लाकडी खोपटं असायची आणि त्या खोपट्यातनं सकाळी सकाळी दूध विकलं जायचं. त्या गाड्या यायच्या, सरकारी गाड्या, आणि त्या दुधाच्या बाटल्या टिपिकल शेपच्या काचेच्या बाटल्या असायच्या. तुमच्याकडच्या असलेल्या रिकामी रिफिल बॉटल्स द्यायच्या, भरलेल्या बाटल्या घेऊन घरी जायचं, दूध तापवायचं आणि ते वापरायचं. तुमच्या घरात त्या दिवशी दूध संपलं तर पुन्हा दुधाचा पदार्थ करायला तुम्हाला दुसऱ्या दिवशीची वाट पाहावी लागायची. So from a phase wherein we had difficulties as far as agriculture is concerned, parallel products of agriculture are concerned, I would say that we are now uh, much well placed. I won't say that the farmer is well placed, but those who have ज्याला आपण सुखवास्तू जीवन जगतायत अशी लोक जी आहेत, वेल टू डू पीपल विल कॉल देम इन इंग्लिश, अशा लोकांना ह्या प्रोडक्टचा तेवढा आता तुटवडा जाणवत नाही. So purchase and sale price of agricultural produce is equally important. There are a few more points that are associated with the human aspects, and these need to be understood beyond the framework. In the sense, त्याच्या चौकटीच्या बाहेर जाऊन त्याचा विचार करणं आपल्यासाठी ते गरजेचं आहे, आवश्यक आहे. So we will stop here today for today's lecture, and when we meet tomorrow, we'll continue with the other aspects. That's basically क्रॉप इन्शुरन्स वगैरे ह्या ज्या गोष्टी आहेत या नेमक्या काय आहेत आणि त्या अनुषंगाने आपण त्याच्याकडे कसं पाहणं गरजेचं आहे, is something that we will be looking into when we meet for tomorrow's lecture. If you have any queries for me, you could please ask me about those queries. आज मुलं बरीच कमी दिसत आहेत, आय डोंट नो व्हाय. सुट्टी वगैरे असण्याची शक्यता वाटली का काय मुलांना?